At least it's a high-grade 1/100.
13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. I had no idea what I was getting myself into with this game, but it just looked too interesting to ignore. And once I started playing, I quickly went from intrigued to, oh my god, I can't stop playing this game! Alright, Bomb, I think this game's giving you a brain overload. How about you? No! I gotta see what's going on with this character. I'm supposed to be the one playing the game. I just unlocked more character chapters, and now I gotta decide which one I wanna play first. How about the take a break to sleep chapter? Who needs sleep when I have my yakisoba pun? Okay, finally at a good stopping point. You finished the game, a good stopping point. And now I'm ready to talk about 13 Sentinels. Honestly, I don't even know how to describe this game since it's so unique it defies genres, but regardless, I'll do my best. Indulge us while I play catch-up. Gladly. On a basic level, 13 Sentinels is a series of interactive, free-roaming, 2.5D chapter-based visual novels with real-time tactical strategy, isometric mech battles, fighting off invading alien forces while customizing and managing your team RPG style. Whoa. Excuse me? I told you, it's weird. The character story segments are easier to digest, so let's start there. Okay, hold on. Let me at least beat the game first. Wow, I know, right? How the heck do we even describe this game? I was just getting to that. Right, sorry. You start by selecting one of 13 characters and playing as them in a chapter of their own unique story, which we can shelve for later. As you complete chapters, you'll unlock subsequent ones, as well as unlock other character routes in chapters based on your uncovering of important plot threads and details that connect all of the interlinked stories. Some routes are particularly tricky to unlock, with bonus parameters and stipulations from the game's real-time strategy mech fighting mode. This is to ensure that players aren't getting spoiled by upcoming plot twists, as the game is still letting you absorb it all at your own preferred order and pace. In these segments, you'll play the part of the selected character, intermingling, investigating, and sometimes just surviving their own unique scenarios in an open side-scrolling cinematic environment. As you play, you'll acquire new thoughts, like inventory, to use in conversation with other characters you meet in order to freely explore the sci-fi scenarios and figure them out all by yourself, making your input feel real and impactful in the story. It's not the gameplay, but the story that's super engaging during this half of the game. And we'll get there, but it'll have you completing stories to unlock parameters because you're dying to continue a certain character story path, but the journey there got you super invested in another 3 stories, and that's how the gameplay gets addicting. And then there's the tactical strategy half of the game, which is super fun and addicting in its own right. You'll start by selecting a team to deploy of your 13 battle-ready Sentinels to prepare for who will be in the reserves for the upcoming subsequent battles. You see, if you deploy a certain character twice without a rest, they'll demand their union-mandated breaks and be forced to sit out the next round. It's called brain overload. Piloting a Sentinel is extremely taxing on the user, and because of this, you'll need to manage your resources and party members well in order to survive the many waves of incoming kaiju. Your goal in these battles is to defend massive underground supercomputer terminals against an outrageous onslaught of dozens of various alien machines hell-bent on complete destruction. Between stages, you can spend your accumulated meta chips from the wrecked alien Deimos on a huge slew of upgrades to your party. It's basically the flashiest tower defense I've ever seen. Considering how my favorite ability was planting sentry guns absolutely everywhere, it very much became a crazy game of tower defense. But with Gundams and alien Mechagodzillas. Undeniably, the coolest thing ever. Vanilleware's artwork is absolutely breathtaking. These screenshots you've been seeing of the game aren't wallpapers. That's actually what the game looks like. Every single character and set piece looks phenomenal. Isn't Vanillaware that group that made Dragon's Crown some of the most uncomfortably drawn anatomy I've ever seen? Put that lumpy flesh back where it came from, or so help me! I'll give you that. Regardless of their subject matter, the team at Vanillaware are pros at giving things a beautiful painterly vibe that makes their characters and environments appear cinematically vibrant. Their lighting alone gives a ton of depth to the 2.5D world, making what would otherwise be drab city set pieces look like they were exclusively shot during the most spectacular sunrises and sunsets in history. And then the real real-time strategy segments get this computerized simulation aesthetic in order to simplify all the chaos that would otherwise be cluttering up the screen with smoke and debris. Luckily, they animated each Sentinel performing their unique attacks, so you can at least imagine what devastation your commands are actually wreaking on the invaders. This game is so freaking gorgeous, it's probably what drew you to check it out to begin with. Better than whatever the heck they were doing with Dragon's Crown. Ah, come on, that's gross! Are people actually getting off to these fleshy monstrosities? This game's story is absolutely nuts. If you're a fan of the sci-fi genre and surprising creative plot twists, then take my word for it and just play this game without even listening to another word. Seriously, I won't even feel bad. Okay, maybe a little. The game's story is divided into a non-linear sequence of 13 intertwined characters, on top of their ultimate assembly and collective assault on the incoming alien Deimos once their stories coalesce. As we previously discussed, this is all played out of order, creatively to never accidentally spoil the player to upcoming plot points, leaving you to wonder how these various people will all eventually come together and pilot giant mechs to prevent the apocalypse. This story is absolutely jam-packed with sci-fi plot twists. I bet if you think of one cool sci-fi theme you really like right now, it's probably a prominent factor in at least one of these 13 characters' campaigns. Seriously, it's like a huge collection of all the coolest ideas all roll into one! And luckily, to avoid the game going completely out of hand, you'll slowly reveal scenes you've played on a master timeline document, making sense of everything you've played up to this point. You can even revisit and play those scenes from this menu in order to help remind you of their exact contents, if the in-game descriptions weren't enough. And the real meat of the story is in playing out those 13 campaigns, which, unlike other similar multi-character campaign games like Octopath Traveler, all of these character stories connect in meaningful and impactful ways that drive the plot as a whole forward, where missing out on even one of them would be detrimental to the overall story. Since each character's story campaign could be the plot of a crazy sci-fi movie all their own, we'll just give you 13 teasers for you to absorb, leaving how they'll all cross paths and ultimately conjoin up to your imagination until you experience the game yourself. Juro Kurabe is your average 80s high schooler fond of sci-fi and monster movies. His life appears normal at first, routinely hanging out with his friends after school, until he slowly uncovers an ominous plot set up to manipulate his entire life by a fraud in disguise. Yori Fuyusaka is a young schoolgirl with a crush on a boy she's only seen in passing. After daydreaming about what he must really be like with her friends, she gets the opportunity to meet him and ultimately gets thrown headfirst into a fast-paced action thriller as the two avoid their mysterious pursuing men in black. Megami Yakushiji is a shy schoolgirl who will go to any lengths to protect the boy she loves, even going so far as to listen to a strange talking cat who gives her a sinister futuristic gun and tells her that the only way to protect her love is to isolate and shoot all her friends. Shu Amaguchi is a laid-back, flirty pretty boy who's ambivalent about his own popularity at school, because when he's alone at night he receives strange messages from a pop idol through his television like a poltergeist, whom he assists in unraveling a massive conspiracy. Ryoko Shinonome is a sickly girl recovering from a mysterious accident that affected her memory, forced to ingest strange pills in order to keep her ailment at bay. She fights the mental constraints and captors, keeping her from unraveling the conspiracy that truly holds her prisoner. Takatoshi Hijiyama is a young soldier from the 40s who suddenly finds himself transported over 40 years in the future. Now alone and devoid of any acquaintances or prospects, he lives as a determined vagrant, fervently seeking out the strange man who ruined his life. Ei Sekigahara awakens with amnesia in a back alley murder crime scene. Gathering what little clues he can about himself and the situation, he's suddenly on the run from the murderous men in black, actively pursuing him with lethal intent. Yuki Takamiya is a powerfully tough, well-known delinquent who gets wrapped up in an undercover operation in order to save her best friend, all the while pushing people for whatever extra information she can gather for her conspirators and against them. Natsuno Minami, a friendly track team student, gets thrown into a whirlwind time-traveling adventure when she discovers a tiny robot hiding in her locker room who needs her help in tracking down a massive futuristic mech lost in time. Nenji Ogata, the school punk who deeply cares for his friends, finds himself trapped in a time loop, where he scrambles to find his way out of a never-ending cycle beginning innocently innocently enough at a train station and culminating in the end of the world. Tomi Kisaragi is a disrespectful teenage girl who finds herself flung into a devastated future world alongside a couple friends, where her entire city has been destroyed by rampaging aliens. Though she keeps her secrets to herself, this may not be her first unconventional trip through time. Keitaro Miura, a respectfully diligent young soldier from the 40s, was one of the first chosen to pilot the new experimental Sentinels in World War II. However, when a sudden alien attack completely obliterates his home and family, he's taken on a journey into the future with an even greater role to fulfill. Renya Goto is a brilliant detective-like man who will do whatever is necessary to uncover the truth about a long-dormant conspiracy involving a secret massive underground UFO, including manipulating the many pawns at play in order to ensure that the mysterious operation is a success. And that's just the main characters you play as. There's so many characters, all so well written that they all feel like their own compelling protagonists of their own stories, even when they overlap and become the villains in another's. This story gets absolutely mad as they all interconnect in crazy ways. It's seriously all so good, it'll keep you glued to your controller throughout. It's even so good that it even retains replay value even after you're in on the dozens of sci-fi plot twists. You see how long it took to just give you a little morsel of what this story will be like, and we're still only scratching the surface? It's incredible. I will not say any more. Shut up and play it already. Oh, it's so cool. The battle themes especially are just amazing, alongside the super satisfying sound effects for all the mech battles. It does get kind of annoying in mech battles when characters will say the same few lines over and over again when given similar orders. But granted, that seems to be a requirement for anime games for some reason. But speaking of the character voices, they're all professionally done and are awesome where it matters, in the actual story and cutscenes. Plus, the entire game was localized in several languages, and the English team did an outstanding job. It'll sound dumb, but I really love how the main menu plays this muffled version of the theme until you press a button and it flashes into the animated title card and the music blasts into its full glory. Yeah, I gotta admit, the sound design here is top notch. Just in case you're somehow not sold on this game, we're still gonna hit you with this segment. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is one of the most creative games to come out in the past decade. If the beautiful art style alone didn't drag you in, trust me when I say that this story will grip you hard and won't be letting go. I went into this game with high hopes, but still didn't really know what to expect. And somehow, even those expectations were blown away with this impressive end product. This game was so good that I actually feel bad about it. Kim and I were playing this together before I couldn't help it and played a little bit farther alone. And then a little more, and then some more, until I was so many hours ahead of her that I ended up finishing the entire game, leaving her behind to do her own playthrough. Sorry. The positive gamer in me gives 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim a phenomenal 10 out of 10. The only thing I wish for at the end of this playthrough was a way to completely erase my memory of the game so that I could start over fresh and experience it all over again. The critical gamer in me has to give 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim a 9 out of 10. After a lot of thought, I nearly caved in with a perfect score, but was left a bit miffed from the few times I got lost or annoyed or confused in some of the character stories, and from the strategy battles not posing quite enough of a challenge. It was, however, an all-around work of art and a nearly flawless one. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim in the comments below. But if you're out there demeaning a game that you haven't even played yet, then you're just playing with yourself. How do you guys like my new background? It's a bit of a work in progress. I've been making a lot of perler beads lately, if you couldn't tell. And yes, that's actually what these are. These aren't like cut out posters or anything. Those are all little fuse beads that like melt together when you iron them after meticulous placing of the little things on giant grids. Yeah, I like Metroid. I'm still working on a bunch of new ones, and there's some more downstairs. You haven't even seen them all. Eventually, I'm probably gonna open up commissions. But anyway, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more, and be sure to use the links in the description to nominate your own episode. Thank you to all of our Patreon members: Atomic Thomas, Cameron, Arrow, Rowan, Erica, Minya, Sid, and Crystal. Boop.